I still remember the first time Blessing told me about Emeka. We were sitting in our small kitchen, eating boiled corn and coconut, when her face lit up like morning sun. "I met someone," she said, biting her lip shyly. "Talk," I shouted, already excited. "Who is he? What does he do?" "His name is Emeka. He works in a bank, and he's so gentle, so respectful." I could see it in her eyes. This wasn't just any man. Emeka made her feel seen, loved, and safe. They started dating, and within a year they got married. Their wedding was beautiful, simple, but full of joy. I was her maid of honor. She danced like someone whose dream had just come true. Emeka couldn't take his eyes off her. He whispered in her ear, held her close, and laughed at her jokes. You could see love written all over him. After the wedding, they moved into a nice 2-bedroom apartment not far from mine. Every time I visited, Blessing had something sweet to say. "My husband is amazing. He doesn't let me do any heavy work. He helps with cooking, cleaning, even laundry." They prayed together every night. They shared everything, and yes, they were physically close. She once told me, "We make love almost every night. He makes me feel like a queen." For 2 years, everything was perfect. They looked like the ideal couple, laughing in church, holding hands at the supermarket, and posting cute pictures on social media. People used to say, "God, when they saw them." But like a slow leak in a balloon, things started to change. It all started after Blessing gave birth to their first child, a beautiful baby boy named Chibuikem. That day was full of tears, but they were happy tears. Emeka was right there in the hospital, holding her hand, smiling down at the baby. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "Thank you, my queen." For a while, everything still seemed okay, but slowly things began to shift. The first time Blessing noticed something strange was one night when she reached for Emeka in bed, and he turned away. She thought maybe he was just tired. After all, taking care of a newborn can be exhausting. But then it became a pattern. He stopped talking to her like before. He would come home late, say he was working overtime. He stopped laughing at her jokes. He stopped praying with her. And the worst part, he stopped touching her. "I don't understand," she told me one afternoon, her voice low. "It's been weeks and he hasn't touched me, not even a kiss." "Did you ask him what's wrong?" I said, worried. "Not yet," she said. "I don't want to seem desperate." But she was already desperate. She missed him. His smile, his touch, his presence. Her joy started to fade. The woman who used to wear bright colors now wore dull ones. The one who used to dance while cooking now just stood in silence. Then one night she couldn't take it anymore. She finally asked him, "Honey, what's going on? You don't touch me anymore." Emeka didn't even look at her. He just said coldly, "I don't enjoy sex with you again. Your Toto is too wide." Blessing told me about it the next morning. I had just arrived at her house with some baby clothes when I found her sitting on the floor, crying like a child. She looked up at me with swollen eyes and said, "He said I'm too wide. Am I not a woman again? Is it my fault I gave birth?" I dropped everything and hugged her. I didn't even know what to say. I was angry, I was heartbroken, but more than anything, I was scared, because I saw something in her eyes that I had never seen before. She was broken. I've never seen Blessing cry like that before. That morning, I went to her house with a bag of baby clothes. Her baby was about 3 months old then. I was smiling as I knocked on the door, but when she opened it, her face told me something was terribly wrong. Her eyes were swollen, her hair was scattered, her wrapper was falling off her shoulder. She didn't even greet me. She just turned and walked back inside. I followed her in and dropped the bag. "Blessing, what happened?" She sat on the floor, holding her knees to her chest, and said, "He said it to my face." I knelt beside her. "Who said what?" "Emeka," she whispered. "He told me he doesn't enjoy sex with me anymore, that my Toto is too wide." I froze. I didn't know how to respond. My heart was beating fast. I wanted to believe I heard wrong. But she looked at me with tears falling freely. "He said it with no emotion, no shame, like I'm not even human." She laid her head on my shoulder and cried like a child, and I let her cry. I just held her. There was nothing I could say that would make it better. When she was calm, she whispered, "Is it my fault that I gave birth? Am I not a woman again? Does having a baby mean I'm finished?" I looked at her and said, "You are still a woman, a strong woman. Giving birth doesn't make you less, it makes you more." But I could see that my words were like pouring water into a basket. Her spirit was broken. That thing he said had entered her soul and crushed something deep inside. From that day, everything changed. Blessing stopped being Blessing. She used to walk confidently around the house. Now she covered herself, even when it was just her and the baby. She started wearing oversized clothes. She would avoid mirrors. She moved like someone carrying shame. She stopped smiling. I would visit and find her sitting in darkness, the baby asleep beside her, while she just stared at the wall, lost in thought. Sometimes I would call her name twice before she responded. She was there, but not really there. Her joy had died. And the worst part? Emeka acted like nothing was wrong. He would come home, eat, and scroll through his phone. No conversation, no affection, no apology. I watched my best friend fade before my eyes, and it hurt. Blessing started asking herself questions that had no answers. She would sit with me and say things like, "Is it that I'm not attractive anymore? Do men stop loving their wives after childbirth? Why didn't anyone tell me that giving life would make me feel less alive?" And I didn't know what to say, because no answer could take away the pain she was feeling. She no longer looked at herself in the mirror. When I asked her why, she said, "I don't like what I see anymore." This was a woman who used to love dressing up. Even when she was pregnant, she would still do her makeup, wear her earrings, and smile with pride. But now, she wore only wrappers and plain t-shirts. She would tie her scarf any way it landed. No makeup, no perfume, no joy. The light in her eyes was gone. She told me one day, "I feel invisible, like I'm just a body in the house, a body he no longer wants to touch." Sometimes she would cry in the bathroom so her baby wouldn't hear her. Other times she would sit beside her child and cry silently while breastfeeding. And Emeka? He didn't even ask her what was wrong. He just lived in that house like she didn't exist. No affection, no attention, no intimacy, no love. Blessing said to me one night, "It's like I'm mourning a husband who is still alive." And that broke me, because I knew she was right. The man she married was gone, and what was left was a stranger who didn't care how much he was hurting her. She tried to pretend everything was okay in front of people, but I saw the truth. I saw how she avoided looking women in the eye at church. I saw how she walked with her head down in the market. I saw how she stayed quiet during conversations where other women were laughing about love and marriage. She was shrinking, fading, drowning in silence, all because of a sentence that no woman deserves to hear. One day, Blessing said to me, "I want to know if something is really wrong with me." I looked at her. "Nothing is wrong with you, Blessing." She shook her head slowly. Then why would he say that? Why would he look at me like I'm disgusting? I just want to be sure I'm still okay. So she went to the hospital. She booked an appointment with a female doctor, someone she felt comfortable with. I went with her that day, holding her hand as we waited for her name to be called. She didn't talk much. She just stared at the white walls, biting her lower lip. When it was time, she went in alone. She came out almost an hour later, holding a piece of paper in one hand and tissue in the other. Her eyes were wet again, but this time they were not just tears of pain. They were tears of relief. She sat beside me and whispered, "The doctor said I'm fine." She said nothing is wrong with me. She explained that childbirth can change the body, yes, but it doesn't make a woman loose or unworthy. She said a real man understands that. I squeezed her hand. "I told you." Blessing smiled faintly. She said it's emotional and physical changes, not damage, and that many women go through it, but no one talks about it. On our way home, she was quiet, but I could see that something had shifted. A tiny part of her heart had started to believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken after all. But that hope didn't last long, because when she tried to share the doctor's report with Emeka, he laughed. He actually laughed. He said, "You think one doctor will change how I feel? You're still wide. You can't fix that." Blessing stood there holding the paper like it was a weapon she had just realized was useless. She told me later that night, "Even when the world tells you you're okay, one man's rejection can still make you feel like you're not." And that was the sad truth. Emeka didn't care what the doctor said. He had already made up his mind. He had already stopped loving her. And Blessing? She was still trying to understand why.